Okay, hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else watching. Yeah, I finally got around to doing my video of the final quarter-final game of the FIBA Asia Cup 2022. Now, what a game that was! That was a really. It was basically a battle, guys. I mean, it was a war. I can understand why before this game, New Zealand actually did the haka because this game deserved the haka. You can say because of the intense struggle and intense battle to win the game. And yeah, the final score was New Zealand 88, Korea 78. Now, guys, this was an interesting game. Again, referees played a big role, unfortunately, during the game as two of Korea's players were ejected. And unfortunately, Korea had before the start of the game, they already had two missing players in their roster because of COVID. So with the ejection, they actually had four missing players in total. So I think they ended up having like only maybe seven or eight players left at the end of the game to actually who could continue playing in the game. So yeah, I talked about this technical foul business before in one of my videos. While I can understand why the referees want to have so much discipline. I can also relate a little bit with the players as well. They need to release some of their stress and their vent during the game. My personal opinion always is, as long as they don't show this towards the other players, I think the players should be allowed at least a little bit of breathing room when it comes to their emotions. I think this is my personal opinion, but of course, in this game, I don't think that was the situation. In this game, I think I can easily say that both of the ejections of the Korean players were deserved, and they were very stupid. To be honest, especially the first one, the one from Lee. I mean, Lee is the one of the best players of Korea, and he was the team captain. I mean, if your team captain gets ejected and he knows he actually has technical before, and while knowing this, he gets the second technical. Yeah, you can't say anything but stupidity. I mean, the guy's more than 30 years old. He has the experience. He should have figured the consequences of his actions. So I blame the Koreans, actually, the Korean players here for their ejections. And yeah, I believe unfortunately these ejections played a big role at the for the end result of this match. So in the end, the semifinals became an interesting picture now. So we have Lebanon and Jordan on one side, Lebanon and Jordan game. And on the other side, we have Australia and New Zealand, the Oceanic derby, we could say, right, for the next game. I'm going to talk about the semifinals towards the end of the video, but first, let me just go into a little bit more detail about the Korea-New Zealand game. New Zealand was lucky. They had Timmins in the squadron, and Timmins was played a very good game. I in another video, I also talked about how I'm following the New Zealand basketball league as well, and I could easily, say that Timmins was one of my favorites. He plays for the Otago Nuggets in the New Zealand NBL, and he was one of my favorite big guys, that I watched during the New Zealand NBL matches. So I expected him to do good things, and yeah, he proved me correctly with his performance in this game. Also, he had to play longer times because the second big man of New Zealand, Sam Menenga, I think he had a problem. I think some kind of illness, so he couldn't really he couldn't take any time in the game. So he didn't play at all. So this gave a little bit more opportunity, a little bit more time for Timmins to assert himself as the main center of the New Zealand team. Of course, the player of the game, I think, and the player that impressed me the most in New Zealand was Flynn Cameron, Coach Para Cameron's son. I mean, he was nearly close to he was close to a triple double. I think he finished the game with 16 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. And the guy is such an explosive presence. I mean, I'm so impressed with Flynn Cameron. He doesn't, he's not a big man like his father, so he's plays a very different style when compared with his father. But he's such a explosive player. I mean, he can score, he can dish out the assists, he can get the rebounds, he can do everything. He can but the thing that I'm most impressed about Flynn Cameron is he plays with his heart. I mean, he doesn't look at anything else. He just plays with his heart. He doesn't play with the referees. He doesn't play with the other team. He just plays the game with his heart, and well, whatever comes to him, he does. He does it. Whatever his team requires, whether it's scoring or whether it's rebounding, assists. So he's a very impressive player, and he was deservedly the MVP of the game against Korea. Yeah. Now we should also, I think, talk when we talk about the New Zealand thing. We should talk about the fact that this is a younger team. This is like a younger generation, and I think from this young team, they are trying to find the future of the New Zealand, the future of the Tall Blacks basketball team, and it's a good idea. It's a good mission. I think it's always yeah. It's good to have your experienced players on the one side, but it also to develop effective young players is very important for the future of your country's basketball. Also, of course, this gives the selection process a really wider net. So in the end, when the time comes to select the national team for New Zealand, they can have a very wider net to search from and include these younger players as well. So it's a very honorable mission, and I support any kind of development of these younger players. And we see, especially here with the New Zealand team, we can see with the performance of Flynn Cameron. Also, Taki Farrington in this game had a really impressive performance as well. He's again one of the younger stars of New Zealand basketball. So I see great future for both Flynn Cameron and Taki Farrington, to be honest. I mean, they will be probably, I think they will be like the backbone of New Zealand basketball for the next 10 to 15 years, I imagine. And yeah, so and I can foresee them, playing in the next FIBA World Cup as well. So yeah, I think New Zealand's future is kind of set, in terms of the small forward and point guard positions. Maybe, and for the big guys, yeah, I think they can have Sam Menenga and Timmins, there as a backup as well. Smith Milner, of course, their main, you at this point we can say experienced big guy. I think also Smith Milner played his best game as well in this match. So yeah, very strong guy. In fact, there was one possession where Smith Milner fell down really in a bad way, but he managed to get up and return to the game. So he's a very very strong player as well. So respects to Smith Milner. So the thing is, New Zealand actually started the game really well. I mean, at the first like 5 minutes or something, they were like really dominant. But then one thing I really liked about Korea was their relentlessness. I mean, they didn't stop, they didn't give up. They just went and went and went, and this is what actually made Korea stay in the game up until the very end. Basically, not at the end, but I think we can say up until the ejections. The stupid ejections um, of their tournament. And I think probably I can safely say that Korea is the one team that I watched all the games. I can say that Korea is the one team that never gave up in any of its matches, and this is a very good quality in a basketball team. I mean, if your players continue to play even in dire circumstances, without giving up, this is a really good culture. If you can infuse this in your basketball team, because I remember back in the day, as a Turkish person, one of the biggest problems Turkish basketball national teams used to face was that if we if we went down, like a very high margin or something like that, our players would, lose all the concentration, all the momentum, all the motivation, and we would end up basically losing the game in a big way. So yeah, Korea should be, I think, very respected because of this basketball culture that they infused in their players. So this is very good. Lee, yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Lee. I talked a bit about him before, about how stupid his ejection was. I stand by my opinion. I think it was a very stupid ejection. But also, we should, I think, look at his positive sides as well. Lee is the captain of the Korean team. He's a very good player. He builds the game. He scores. He guides. He's like the team leader basically, right? So he's the calming factor. When Korean players actually see him on the floor during the possession, I think they become more calm. They become more relaxed during their possessions. So when he was ejected, understandably, this calmness kind of lost its way, and Korean players became a little bit more panicked, I think, after Lee's ejections. Again, I should say, I'm not too big of a fan of referees using tees so easily, technicals so easily. But in this game, I think specifically they were deserved. They weren't really something you should say too easy tees. But again, I'm not. I'm in the middle ground. I'm not too fond of using technicals as a form of discipline. You should sometimes let the players went out their emotions and have that discipline for themselves. Only if they kind of like go overboard with their emotions, or use their emotions against a fellow player negatively, I think that's when the technical should come into play. Otherwise, be a little bit more relaxed. I think this is basically my life's philosophy as well. I think as a people, we kind of get stuck up too many times in our lives. We take everything so seriously. I think a little bit more relaxed approach to life in general. This is maybe you can consider it my life lesson of the day. So if we can actually take life a little less seriously, maybe we will have less conflicts around the world. So yeah, I think yeah, in this instance, I think the referees need to find the right balance. I mean, if you look at it, currently in the FIBA Asia Cup 2022, how many games are played? They're like, maybe, let's say, 15 games. I don't know the exact number. Let's say 20 something games, more than 20 games, let's say. And we already had about let's see, two there, three, five ejections in 20 games, or more than 20 games. I consider that a little bit much. I think, yeah, I think technical should be and ejections should be the last resort. So yeah, we have to be a little bit more mindful of that. Biggest problem I could see with the New Zealand team, if we have to return back to the New Zealand team, is their inconsistency. I mean, if they could, and I relate this to the youthfulness of the team, to the team being very young and inexperienced. I mean, if they play with the same squad, for certain time, I think this will improve. But currently, what I can see as their biggest problem is inconsistency. I mean, throughout the game, there are instances where they play really efficiently, really well, but then there are also instances where they do, terrible turnovers. They do, they miss easy shots, easy layups. So they're very inconsistent. And if they can learn to be more consistent throughout the game, play better basketball consistently, I think they will improve. So far, I couldn't see this consistency in the New Zealand team. Now, if I have to go and analyze the Korean team here a little bit, Korea is a team of systems. I think a very systematic team. Every player knows his role basically. So who's the shooter, who's the tough guy, who's the basically rebounder and stuff like that. They're also very opportunistic, but they also have this kind of a dirty play in their how shall I say, playbook. Yeah, in their playbook. So this is the thing I didn't like, and this is why I think their technicals in this game were deserved. Because in general, I don't like the kind of playing where you players resort to dirty tricks to get up on top. So yeah, Korea has this a little bit of this resorting to dirty tricks. A little bit of hits, nudges. During off ball possessions and stuff like that. So yeah, uh, I think Korea wants to use this as a tactic, but they really shouldn't. I mean, they like I said, they have a systematic team, and if they can concentrate on this systematicness instead of trying to resort to dirty tricks to win the game, I think it will be better for them. And that's why I think the referees, especially, gave the technicals and the ejections for Korea to kind of give the same message that I'm trying to give right now. Don't resort to these dirty tricks during the game. And I think I agree with that, with this term. I agree with the referees here. Basically, Korea needs to stop resorting to dirty tricks to take advantage in the game. And the fast break points, yeah, there were quite a bit of fast break points and points from turnovers. Korea used this as an advantage because as I told you before, the biggest problem of New Zealand was inconsistency, and they too much turnovers resulted from this inconsistency. And Korea is a very opportunistic team. They use these inconsistencies, turnovers, lost balls to their advantage during the game. One thing that I want to talk about in terms of Korea is the performance of Gunnar Ra. Gunnar Ra is their naturalized player. He didn't seem as dominant as in the other games he played during the group stage. Maybe because the New Zealander players kind of became or felt a little bit more physical towards him. I mean, he's not a young guy; he's over 30 years old, so his energy can go down, during the game. But also in this game, one thing I like about Gunnar Ra is he doesn't play a showy game. I mean, he's not the center of attention all the time, but when you look at the end of the game, he has like absolutely excellent stats. He has like 16 points, 15 rebounds, and like that. But he doesn't play a showy game. He plays a simple game, and that's what I love about him. I love the idea of simplicity. Again, this is one of my, today I'm continuing to give life philosophy about life, more than basketball. And yeah, another of my life philosophies is basically being simple. There's nothing wrong of being simple in life, using simplicity. And yeah, Gunnar Ra is very effective scoring and rebounding guy, but also a very simple guy. Just gets the rebound, finishes the easy layup, easy dunk. Like that. You wouldn't, I mean, you wouldn't really expect Gunnar Ra to, just dribble the ball, all the way and do a penetration or shoot like a 3-point all the time. No, he does shoot 3 points from time to time when he finds himself empty, but usually he's the guy that finishes at the end of the paint. Gets the easy rebound, finishes with the easy layup or the easy dunk right at the end. So let's see. Yeah, like I said, the turning point of the game was Lee's and Choi's ejections. Two players. It became very. It became like a kind of a point where Korea couldn't really turn themselves around. Also, at certain parts of the game, there were very unexpected easy misses from both sides. I mean, they missed the easy layups, easy shots, empty shots. And in fact, I remember there was one possession, I think it was Gunnar Ra. He like played basically volleyball with the rim. He missed like back-to-back 5 shots, I think at the same time. Very easy layups and shots. So yeah, it was kind of an unusual situation in that sense. Again, I bring this to basically the issue of players being tired. Also, of course, in terms of New Zealand, the youth and the inexperience of the players in general. Let's see, what else can I talk about? Yeah, Tucky Farrenson also. Yeah, we should put a important note about Tucky Farrenson from New Zealand. He became very important. He played an important role, especially in the last quarter. He synced a couple of very important, very decisive 3 pointers. I think, yeah, I watched his New Zealand League games as well, and he's a very very impressive player. He can sink the 3 point. He can jump for the dunk. He can run very fast, very quick player as well. So, like I said, Farrenson and guys like Flynn Cameron, yeah, they are basically the future of the New Zealand team. So, yeah, this is basically all I'm going to say about the match itself. Now I want to talk a little bit about my predictions for the semifinals. Now, the semifinal matches are a little bit interesting now. Of course, we have the Lebanon first, the Lebanon Jordan game. The Lebanon Jordan game. Of course, this will all depend on the performances of the scorers of the both team. I mean, for Lebanon, definitely the performance of Arakci, and whether Jordan could be able to defend Arakci. If Jordan can defend Arakci very effectively, they will have a chance. But if they can't, if Arakci scores at will and does whatever he wants, then yeah, Jordan's chances will diminish. Of course, Jordan should also be careful about Arlich as well. Usually, if you look at the games that Lebanon wins, yeah, while Arakci's performance is very, very effective, Arlich's performance is actually more key, I think, because Arlich does the, kind of the necessary but unseen things. He gets the offensive rebounds, he does the putbacks, he does the runnings in the transition offenses, and he does the, slam dunks and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, Arlich. I think maybe more than Arakci. I think Jordan needs to. I think if I were Jordan, I would give. I think Zaid Abbas is a very good defender. I would give Abbas. I would start with Abbas, in the main five, starting five, and I would give Abbas to Arlich and give Abu Hawas or Al Sharma. There was another good defender. I forgot his name. That guy to Vaid Arakci, right? So those two guys can defend Arakci. But of course, you shouldn't give Arakci to Dar Tucker. Tucker is not much of a defender. Tucker is more of a scorer. So if it is a game between Tucker versus Arakci, or a matchup between Tucker and Arakci, it would be an interesting and unusual matchup. But I think both of them will end up scoring at least 50 points if something like that happens. So yeah, and in terms of Jordan, Lebanon, and what Lebanon needs to do to defend Jordan, Lebanon again, I think the biggest problem Lebanon will have in terms of Jordan will be in the paint, especially. I don't know if they have the player to defend Aldawari. Aldawari's role will be very important, I think, in this game, and Jordan, yeah, should definitely try, doing their main offenses through Aldawari, because, like I said, I'm thinking about it, and Lebanon doesn't really have any kind of tall guy or big center kind of player that can defend against Aldawari at the paint. So that will be an important, I think, advantage for Jordan if they can use it. Of course, I think most of Lebanon's defensive attention will be on, of course, Dar Tucker. And Tucker, yeah. So Tucker, if Tucker could score enough, but also get some of the other guys in the game in terms of the offense, it will, I think, will be in Jordan's favor overall. So important points if we have to sum it up, the important points in for the Lebanon Jordan game, the defense of Arakci and Arlich from Jordan, and if Lebanon could manage to defend Al-Dawari in the paint for Lebanon. This is very important. And I can't really say who will win the game. My feeling is, if Jordan might be able to carry that momentum they had with that impressive, from that impressive buzzer beater winning game. So I think Jordan might be a surprise winner here, especially if they could make Aldwari work in the paint and get enough scoring from Dar Tucker. Then and of course make Freddie Ibrahim join Dar Tucker as well. So they can make they can get a win from this game. Of course, Freddie Ibrahim also needs to keep his emotions in check. Don't get any technicals. And the important thing I think Freddie Ibrahim needs to do is make sure he doesn't become too greedy. He should share the ball, do the assist. Not he shouldn't always think about scoring. I mean, Jordan's first scoring option should always be Dar Tucker, and specifically for this game, I think Al Dwari, because of Lebanon's lack of big guy in the paint. So if Jordan can do that, they have a chance to win. But again, for Lebanon, Arakshi could have a very, very impressive game, 30, 40-point game, and can bring the game to Lebanon as well. And Australia New Zealand game again, yeah, that's a very. I think to be honest, I think Australia has a bigger chance in that game because Australia's roster is a little bit more consistent and experienced roster when compared with New Zealand. I think, yeah, while New Zealand's youth and energy got them to the semifinals, I think the inconsistency that I talked about and the inexperience that I talked about at the beginning of the earlier parts of the video, I think will ultimately be the downfall of the New Zealand team. And I think Australia will win the semifinal and will go to the finals in the end, I think, of the Asia Cup. Because, I mean, Australia just works, in a very systematical way. And I think also a big role, Thom Maker will play a big role. Thom Maker is such a multifaceted player. He can do everything. And I think New Zealand big players will have very, very much difficulty guarding a guy like Thom Baker and a guy like Wade, who can step out for the threes, or a guy like Froling, So my gut says Australia has a very much higher chance of winning this game. But again, don't count the Tall Blacks out. If Flynn Cameron can lead the team, and if they can use their energy in a more positive way instead of and if they can limit their simple or easy turnovers, they might have a chance. And if, of course, they need to sink their 3 points as well. But New Zealand hasn't really been too consistent all throughout the tournament in terms of 3-point shooting. So I don't know. I think in terms of 3 points, Australia seems to be the better team, especially with their big guys shooting so effectively. So I feel like Australia has a better chance of winning that game. So thanks again, everybody. Thanks for listening. So I'm gonna do another video soon about the last New Zealand league game. They played another game. It was a very good game. I enjoyed it very much. It will be a shorter video. This video became a little longer because I gave a little bit more detailed information, and I also gave my suggestions or basically, yeah, for what will happen for the semifinal games as well. Yeah, I'll review the semifinals games when they finish. They're on Saturday. They're tomorrow, so today's Friday here in my country. They will be played tomorrow, and hopefully we will have, I think, very good semifinal games as well. See you guys next time, and have fun. Enjoy yourselves.